So may I please call upon Bindu S, being the anchor for the upcoming session. Along with Bindu, if I may also invite our distinguished speakers, Mr. Tobias Meier, the Global Product Manager for Cotton and Textiles, Mr. Vikram, Head of Global Tea Fairtrade. Akhil, I would request you to make your way back, please. Mr. Akhil Nassim, Deputy Manager, South India Fairtrade NAPP, and Mr. Manoj Kumar, the Senior Program Manager, West and Southern India. Correction on my pronunciation, Mr. Tobias Meier. All right, gentlemen and Bindu, please make your way to the dais over here. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please hear it for our next set of distinguished speakers, please? One bigger round of applause for everybody on the stage here.
Very good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to this session, Updates on Fairtrade Offer to Business. So today we have 1 hour time for the discussion on what makes Fairtrade relevant for global businesses, sourcing, compliance, consumer engagement, how the offer goes beyond certification, traceability, climate, human rights, and environmental due diligence, how Global South producers connect to these business opportunities. Over the past 3 decades, Fairtrade has built a reputation as the most trusted sustainability label. But today, the context is shifting rapidly. Businesses in the global north, especially in Europe, are under growing pressures from the consumers, regulators, and investors to demonstrate real impact in their supply chains. At the same time, producers in the global south face enormous challenges from climate change, volatile markets, and rising cost of living. And this is where Fairtrade's unique value lies. We connect these two worlds. We create a partnership that helps businesses meet global market demands while ensuring producers are stronger, more resilient, and more empowered. So to explore this, we are joined by an eminent panel of colleagues and global leads. Mr. Vikram Singh, the Global Product Head for Fairtrade Tea. Mr. Tobias Meier, the Global Product Lead, Fairtrade Cotton and Textiles. Manoj Kumar, the Senior Program Manager, Network of Asia Pacific Producer. And Mr. Akhil Nassim, the Manager, Program and Coffee Development, Network of Asia Pacific Producers. I welcome all of you to this session. And together they will share how Fairtrade is evolving its offer, going beyond certification, bringing in traceability, supporting compliance with new regulations, and creating new ways for businesses to partner with producers for shared value. So we can begin the session. I hope that all the speakers are ready. So let us begin with you, Vikram. So when we say the Fairtrade offer to business, what does it mean in today's global context, especially with the evolving expectations in Europe and US, and the need for stronger partnerships with producers in the global south? I would like to hear your perception on this.
Right, thank you very much. It's an interesting question. I would say the answer to this question lies in understanding what do we mean by the evolving expectations and where do these expectations actually originate. So if I may just visualize a situation that expectations are, there are many variables, but broadly I would say there are 2 which are very important, is the consumer expectation as well as the compliance expectation. And together they start putting pressure, or rather I would say create a kind of expectation, a scenario or ecosystem within which the businesses operate and respond to that. Like, for example, I think the question is around how these expectations have changed. The consumer today is not the consumer what it was possibly 15 years back or 10 years back. It has changed a lot. For example, today we talk about better for environment, people favoring those brands which are better for environment. Of course, our environmental footprint is noted there. We have got the rise of ethical consumerism, which is on the rise, and they actually take into consideration the social, ethical, and environmental aspects of their choices. So I guess the consumer is changing. Compliance, on the other hand, we see that the compliance is increasing. Today, I would say sustainability is no more a philanthropic word, which it used to be possibly a couple of years back. Today, the materiality of compliance risk has increased globally, I would say. So I think these have put pressure, I guess, everywhere down the supply chain or the value ecosystem. Every business is trying to respond to that. And that's where these conditions which are evolving, whether it is the companies are trying to increase their revenue, they are looking for revenue growth, they are looking at consumer acquisition, but at the same time, they do not want government to be punitive for their actions. So the things have changed. Where do we stand in all this, in all these expectations? Is where what our fair trades offer to businesses? If I have to really elaborate it, I can go into reams, but I would say certainly, I think we as Fairtrade are trying to, our offer to businesses, we are enabling and supporting the supply chains in creating resilient and sustainable supply chains, which have the ability to respond to the customer and compliance expectations through a systematic and institutionalized manner. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vikram. And let us move on to Mr. Tobias. We can focus here on Fairtrade's core value. Tobias, could you please share a few words on Fairtrade's core offer, the price, premium, and standards, and why this remains so critical for producers and businesses in today's market?
Okay, thank you to have me here. And yes, that this is very good question and very important question. And I think this is really key for fair trade. You know, in Europe, there are, or in Europe and America, but especially in Europe, there are two tendencies. One is more regulation, more rules, and the other is fast fashion in the field where I'm active, in textile clothing. So there is on the one hand a big boom of fast fashion. There are conscious consumers, but this is the reality that we are in business, supply-demand questions everywhere. Then we have to say that there is a tendency that the brands, if you have more and more compliance criteria in the north, that the brands just give them down the value chain and say, okay, we don't want to pay more, maybe you could even make it cheaper, but you now have also to fulfill these HREDD requirements and whatever. And this goes down the value chain to the farmer, to the cotton farmers, this pressure. Everybody sees this. And therefore, it's very, very important that we can argue with a cost price. So this is the first question regarding minimum prices, so that we have a guaranteed minimum price for the farmers. That's very, very important that we have this. It's not easy to be active on the market, but it's also unfair if you just talk of sustainability without talking of costs and who is covering the cost and what has to be paid. Then we come to the premiums. We heard it already before in the session on climate action. There are so many challenges for the farmers groups. And so this premium is the least that we can give them, and then that they can jointly decide what they want to do with it. But it also strengthens the community, the farmers together, and builds a strong partnership. And then the standards, that's very important. We know it, we also discussed it. It's going into credibility. into compliance. It's also not easy. We have to prove, but we want to prove. And therefore, we want to bring into the standards as many criteria that helps to strengthen the situation of the farmers and nature also.
Yeah, thank you, Tobias. Thank you for sharing your points on Fairtrade's core value. Of course, as you mentioned, the minimum price, premium, and our strong standard, which is focusing on environment, social and economic aspect, is the core value of Fairtrade. So now we can move on to the colleagues from Network of Asia Pacific Producers. So you are representing the producer network of the Fairtrade system. So working on ground closely with the producers. So let me hear from you. As Fairtrade deepens its engagement with businesses, how do you see this translating into stronger, more resilient producer communities across the supply chain? Can we start with Akhil?
I think it's a win-win situation for both businesses as well as producer communities. Talking about businesses, mostly businesses look for traceable and sustainable supply chains. So Fairtrade already offers that. And also talking about the UCSDDD, before it comes in effect, we have already incorporated it in our standards, both the hired labor and the trader standards. So that also is something, is an offer which we give to businesses. And on the other side, when we talk about the empowerment and resilience building for producers, we have already had a lot of projects where businesses have directly helped us. One such project is where we'll be talking more on that in this session itself, is the CDP project, which was funded by Nespresso through Max Havelaar, France. So we work on this project with the objective of increasing the productivity as well as quality of the coffee. So this ensures sustainable supply of coffee beans to the businesses, as well as improved quality, which usually the perception of quality in India is considered slightly low compared to other places. And also, not just Nespresso, we have another project where a German buyer has invested or is planning to invest on afforestation on one of our SPOs in the south. And I can think about more examples. Sainsbury, they were out of the system, they're coming back, supporting our hired labor tea organizations, as well as coffee SPOs on resilience building. So yeah, I think it's a win-win situation. Fairtrade's offer to business, in a way, empowers the producer organization, as well as gives a solid offer to the businesses.
Thank you. Thank you, Akhil. You would like to add more, Manoj?
I think, I can give one more example. There is a brand called Brands Fashion who has invested in one of our cotton producers, basically. From last 2.5 years, we are having a very good project running. So they have invested a lot in the social development activities and also income diversification activities. So income diversification in the sense we have distributed like fruits and other tree plantations so that their sustainability will be there. They can consume better, food, and also they can excess. They can also sell it. So that's it's an additional income for the farmer. So and also the yield will increase. And the cotton they are also giving more efforts, like kitchen gardening, and there are so many intercrops and mixed crops. So these are all the investment the brands are doing, and through this, the producers are getting better yield and also the better income, so that they can supply throughout the year on a long-term basis. So this is actually a 3-year project. This is already running for the 2nd year, and the next year we are going to continue that. So it's like a long-term relationship, so that the brands are committed and there is a investment, and also the win-win situation for both brands as well as the producers.
Yeah. Thank you, Manoj and Akhil. It was very insightful, and we know that producers are backbone of the Fairtrade system, and very important to see that, right intervention in the supply chain is very important to make the community more resilient. So I think now we can move on to the product-specific discussion. Maybe we can again start with Vikram. If you are comfortable, then we can start with tea, with strong focus in UK and EU. So my first question will be, what new opportunities is Fairtrade creating for tea businesses in the EU and UK? As a global product lead, definitely you will have a lot to say about this.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know whether to say that we are creating opportunities or we are looking at opportunities which do exist in the global market today. If as we all know that tea is the second largest drank beverage in the world. Uh, we have a global consumption of about 6,098 million kgs, and probably half of it is black tea, which generally India produces in large quantities. We are a major producer, 1,456 million kgs we are producing. If I just look at the segmentation, because we are in business of fair trade, I would say, let me just term it that way. So we are not by ourselves, we are not the producer or a buyer as such, but we are a link in this trading relationship, enabler. So what are the opportunities? If I just look at it from a market segmentation point of view, I would say with respect to the sensitivity to human rights and environmental issues and sustainability, if I break the market down, it will be around 12 to 15% of the global market will be highly sensitive to these issues. Low to medium sensitivity is around, say, 50%, close to around 48-50%, and 34% is around which is least sensitive, I would say. It doesn't make a difference whether you spray anything, whatever you spray, or whether you pay living wage in your, or wages are good or human rights violations are there. So, for example, if I just take, you quoted Europe and UK. So if I just take collectively a consumption-based demand in Europe, in UK, in Germany, Netherlands, France, and ANZ taken together, potentially I'm just adding ANZ, it's around, say, 145 million, and taking their current CAGR into consideration, they would be around 160 million kgs. So we have an addressable market, and that's a big opportunity. There are, as we have seen, as I said earlier, that there are expectations which are increasing with respect to human rights, with respect to environment, both on the legislative as well as the consumer aspect of it. If we look at how the consumer is growing and where is the opportunity for fair trade, it's a massive one. Let me say, what I gather is from published reports and data which I see. A Kantar report says that eco-actives, which were around 28% of the global population, would be at their current CAGR, will be around 62% of the population by 2030, which is a massive growth. I would say 38%, or rather all the eco-actives and 38% of all the shoppers, they actually look for a fair trade logo when they make their purchasing decisions. We have got a GlobeScan report which talks about 56% people feel that they look for fair trade logo, or they have higher trust in fair trade certification compared to Rainforest Alliance, which stands at around 17%. So I'm not here comparing, but I'm just putting a perspective. Like 88% people feel that they trust fair trade more than other certifications. So there is a consumer which exists, there is a market, addressable market which exists, certainly there. I think what we need to do is actually understand the bottlenecks which are stopping us from unlocking that growth potential. So we are working on that through our programs, and definitely we seek to capture some of these potential opportunities for the betterment of business. As we expand, we'll be able to. When we started engaging with on the supply side, most of the producers said that we want fair trade to work on market access. So I think that is one area which we are definitely working on, and there is an opportunity. So we are working through our programs on sorting out some of these blockers, and over the next few years, we will see a much better growth coming through. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Vikram. And it is very important, as you mentioned, to unlock the hurdles and explore more potential. I mean, let us work together and move forward on that. Can I add some more questions to you on this topic? What are some salient challenges in the tea value chain?
Okay, I think there are many experts here, couple of friends here who I have been in industry for almost 29 years, and every year we talk about the same challenges. If I have to really talk about challenges today, I can say that we have got a bigger challenge is the global oversupply. Currently, we have almost 350 million kgs of excess rollover stocks in the market. Climate change is possibly one of the factors. I would say we talk about climate change, but it has the most profound impact on different variables on a P&L, whether it is on the top line due to the reduction in yields, due to its negative impact on yields or the quality, or on the cost side, where I would say the dependence upon, if you look at Assam, the dependence on irrigation is increasing, which is actually affecting their cost. You have climate change, its impact upon the humans, basically. I guess more importantly, the challenge is that there is interdependence and interconnectivity between these variables and some of the outcomes which we see in terms of human rights, in terms of environmental degradation. They are all an outcome of the moment businesses start coming under pressure. We start seeing these risks actually increasing. So there is a direct correlation between them, proportionality. So not to say that, okay, we have seen currently or in last couple of years with COVID and everything, we have seen the geopolitical risk and how they can impact. Another important area which I feel that industry is grappling with is the increased exposure, the political exposure to the industry. I have seen that happening in origins where there was a very little. I have worked across many geographies, I would say India, Africa, most of the countries. But I have seen increasingly the political exposure to this industry is increasing, primarily because it is a labor-intensive industry. It is a kind of a potential electorate. So it has political outcomes. So political exposure is increasing, which is again a risk factor. On the market side, we have seen that materiality of the compliance risk is increasing, which is actually putting a lot of pressure on the companies. I wouldn't say that a company operating in India or in Sri Lanka or in Africa is actually legally doing something wrong. They are complying with their local laws. But the challenge is that in the global north, the regulatory framework around human rights or environment is actually growing at a much faster pace compared to us. So that leaves a gap. And I think as Fairtrade, through these sustainable trading relationships, we are trying to sort out, coming together on the table, and we are looking at solving some of those challenges. Tea I think historically it's not, it hasn't kept pace with the inflation, the low price. I would say another aspect is that the opportunity to value add in tea, and mostly on the retail shelves, tea is mostly taken as a loss leader. So opportunity to value add is quite low. I'll give you a small example. Let me say I was doing an analysis way back in 2023 when coffee was trading globally at around $1.75 and tea was at around $2.4. And the average consumer spend on tea annually was $13.54 in UK compared to coffee, which was around $25. So if you look at it, the value addition opportunity is less. So possibly these are some of the challenges which we are grappling with, and I think we have to. Those are the things we are trying to sort out.
Yeah.
How effectively we will see.
Thank you, Vikram. Thank you for sharing your experiences and challenges in the tea value chain, not only in Asia region but also globally. I know we have a lot of tea producers here from South India and Northeast India here in the hall. Definitely they'll have a lot of questions and we will address it, at the end of the session. One last question, Vikram. How is Fairtrade responding to address challenges and create better value for businesses?
At the outset, I would say that we will not have a silver bullet which can actually address all the challenges. So, and it will be very naive to think that we are here the solution provider. The businesses, I have been part of the business, tea business. businesses do respond to the challenges in as best as they can. But what we are trying to do is whatever we can do to solve the issues through tea transformation. Actually, we spoke to a lot of our buyers in Europe currently who are within the system and outside the system to get feedback on actually where the challenges are. Okay, the industry-wide challenges, everybody understands the systemic risks and the unsystemic risks. But more importantly, what as Fairtrade we can do to mitigate some of those challenges. We also spoke to the producers, to the plantation companies, to small growers in the origins, whether it is in India, South India, North India, Sri Lanka, and Kenya, Malawi. Taking all that feedback, we started working on a tea transformation program, and we looked at like we need to really tweak in our offer to the industry. And those 5 pillars which were identified were actually the standards. So we are working on it through our standard architecture program also. We have taken all the feedback from the producers and incorporated into it. The second pillar that we are working on is the pricing mechanism, that how we can actually reduce the entry barriers for increased marketability of tea. The third area that we are looking at is actually communications from both perspectives of consumer education as well as advocacy. Now that can be quite supportive. I think Fairtrade has a platform. I would say, as you have said, that it is mostly a producer-led organization, or I would say a producer-led movement. Then Fairtrade can become a center point in advancing some of that advocacy at different platforms. I think the fourth pillar we are working on is the activities and processes, incorporating all the challenges which exist within the supply chain by making activities and processes much more valuable for the businesses. When I say businesses, it's not only looking at the buyer, it is also the commercial partner for us is both the buyer as well as the seller. So they both are in the business. For example, data transparency is a very important piece. I would say in today's world, data is the key. So we are working on a big project on data transparency. And we are also looking at our own operating systems, that how can they be much more responsive in the best and quickest possible time to the needs of the business. So I guess each of these pillars has a lot of levers which we are working on. And it's, I think, within the scope of this time, I cannot elaborate on each of them. But I would say we have made quite a bit of progress. We have signed NDAs with some major buyers in UK. It is a substantial volume. We are working very closely with them, and we will be engaging more with the producers in the coming days, and they will get to hear more about it. And we look forward to moving on this journey with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for sharing these insights on the tea transformation proposal. And also you have mentioned about the intervention through standard, pricing mechanism, then communication, data transparency, and also maybe value addition. So connecting to this one last question, like how definitely you might have gone through a lot of interactions with the producers. You already mentioned you have interacted with the producers in the South and Northeast and also maybe in Africa. So how the producers are perceiving this idea?
They are quite receptive of the overall thing. I would say businesses understand the realities much better. And we at times as a system, from the outside, we actually overthink the consequences. So there has been a lot of receptivity. Yes, there are certain bottlenecks. I would say, let me say, there are producers who are small and their capacity is... So let us be clear about one thing, that there is no tea producer anywhere, whether it is in India, Sri Lanka or Africa, that they have unsold teas lying in their godowns. They all are selling. So we have to move beyond that point of selling, of what extra value we can bring. So that's the point. So I think, and let me say that premium alone is not going to solve their problems. It's the increased marketability which is going to solve their problems. So if there is on the auctions, if there is one buyer bidding for my tea, I would rather have 4 buyers bidding for my tea, the value will go up. So definitely there will be 15-20% appreciation in the value. So I think there is receptivity around data sharing, there is receptivity around pricing, there is receptivity around the standards. We are also looking at, when I spoke about the activities and processes, we are looking at actually cutting down the flab or unnecessary activities or duplication of data or the documentation. Make it much more streamlined so that we can make it not cumbersome. It is not seen as an additional activity, but rather embedded in day-to-day operations.
Sure. Thank you. So some points are definitely debatable, but I'm happy to see that, how producers are, taking up this proposal. And also definitely we have to see that how we have to increase the market access to the producers, which is the biggest challenge in all the products. And while also addressing that, the core principles of fair trade is not challenged. So maybe we can move to the next product, another important product in our region, cotton and textiles. So let me move on to Tobias. So my first question will be, cotton has many competing standards, including ours, Fairtrade standards, then GOTS, BCI, maybe OCS, many are there. So how is Fairtrade differentiating itself as a credible partner for the global fashion brands?
Okay, so yes, it's a big competition on the market going on. I mentioned also fast fashion, besides the standards in the conscious business, and therefore we really have to develop a good offer. That's the topic of today's session, and we are working hard to have this. And there we have give answers to various questions. And if we can give these answers to the burning questions of the consumers and the brands and government's legal situation, then we can be very successful. At the moment, we are mainly active in merchandising, bags, workwear, but we want also to attract fashion and the whole business procurement and so on. 80% of the market is in India, 70% is in combination with organic. So yes, and then we must have and we are talking about prices. That's why we will never be a cheap one. So you don't get the label, Fairtrade label, for free, but we have to talk about cost of sustainability. And I'm not fearing to have this talk with all the actors around the value chain. And that's, then we have the prices, we have the things that we mentioned before, the credibility. We are close to the ground, to the producers, thanks to NAPP, Fairtrade Africa, and CLAC. And also with the premium, we can interfere and we can build up a community, a family of fair trade, and not just business models with one vertical value chain beside each other. We have to partner each other, we have to find synergies, maybe also with other labels, and see how we work. Then we can be successful. And cotton textiles is one of the most polluting, most challenging branch. 10% of CO2 emission comes from this area. And we intervene at two very crucial areas. One is cotton, we have talked about, but we will also launch now a new textile confection standard, where we want to give an answer to the question of living wage as quickly as possible. More than 60% of brands globally write on their homepage that they are willing to pay a living wage, and until 2030. And only 4% have a program set in to start implementing. And here we could be a good partner with our offer: transparency, traceability, also regard digital passport and so on.
So when we talk about offer to business, what innovations, for example, traceability, digital tools, what we are offering to the businesses to meet consumer and regulatory demands?
Okay, one thing I mentioned that we have these new standards where we give an answer to reach as quickly as possible living wage, and then I think traceability is a key issue, that we can offer traceability from cotton farm to consumer. The credibility, recognition is high. You mentioned the 54% of credibility. And in textiles, in Europe, in 2027, there has to be implemented the EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility. And this is also in relation to textiles. And this means that there must be implemented a digital passport so that you must prove from raw material to end of life, you must prove your products. And there are not many actors on the market that really have this traceability, this control of flow of goods. And yes, so either we, together with Fairtrade International and FlowCert, develop on our own a digital passport system, or we will be part of such a system. There also we have to mention the advocacy level. There is a Fairtrade Advocacy Office. The CEO is here also, Jorge. And they also are now fighting that there will also be adapted versions possible from NGOs for SMEs and smaller actors to fulfill this requirement. And there we from Fairtrade could play a crucial role. And also regarding actions, in the session before we talked about climate action. I had an exchange with others how to implement climate actions. If you have put the target, CO2 target, then you must build a roadmap, how to implement it, how to reach it. And then you have to work, if you were talking on the raw material level, you have to work with the farmers. And there we are active. We know how to work with them, how to implement such program, how to deliver impact stories. And I think there we can do much. We have to invest into credibility, traceability, but we are front runner at the moment, and we should use this advantage on the market to be successful.
Thank you, Tobias. Let us ask the last question for you. I mean, could you please share a few words on how do investment in producer resilience in the global south translate into stronger business value?
So I think we realized it with COVID, and also there were studies done that actors that had on the one hand diversified, but on the other hand have strong partnership along the value chain and work together, that they are much more resilient than the others. So for the farmer, it means they have to have trustful buyers, very close, it's the ginning and the spinning, but there are also the brands that are facing exactly the same problems. And if we can get purchasing guarantees from the brands, then we also can plan together and we can build up a strong value chain together. And then it is also a stable situation. At the moment, the situation is not so stable everywhere, I think, on the whole market. But if we can do this, then we can also help bringing more resilience to the producer. And for Fairtrade, this is the key. This is the heart, DNA. We want to act in favor of producers and workers. And so it's important that we find ways how to make it more resilient activities. And so also what I mentioned, we have to build up a community, a Fairtrade community and a family where we solve the problems together and build up the business together and grow fast, and the potential is big. And I'm sure, and after this conference even more, I'm convinced that there are so many strong positive actors that together we can be in 10 years as important as coffee and cocoa and bananas and tea will follow also. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tobias, for sharing your insights, not only in cotton and textiles, but generally. So now let's move on to our producer network colleagues. So I know that, they are working closely with producers, so you will have a lot of experiences to share on offer to business. And I'm also aware about the coffee development program running in NAPP, which is actually funded by Nespresso through Max Havelaar, Switzerland. So we would like to hear more on that project and also about other offer to business project in NAPP. Maybe Manoj can focus on the productivity project in the CDP. One of the ways Fairtrade creates values for businesses is by ensuring a more reliable and sustainable supply chain. So could you please explain how the productivity focused project under the coffee development plan helps the farmers in increasing the yield and in turn strengthening the supply security for the Fairtrade business partners?
Thank you. Actually, this project started in 2022. So actually, we are in the third year of our implementation. So it is implemented through Nespresso. And when we got the project in June 2022, so we started exploring the possibility of collaborating with some research institutes, some other private sector partners. So then finally, we found out that CCRA, that is Central Coffee Research Institute, that is the research wing of Coffee Board of India. So we got them and then we onboarded them for our project. Actually, it is one of the premier institutes in India, Coffee Board, and also the CCRI, Coffee Research Institute. It's in Bangalore in Karnataka. So we approached the director of research, and then the scientists were very, very cooperative. And then we collaborated in 2022 November. And now we started with various programs and activities. The first program was yield improvement project, and the second was the quality improvement project. So in the yield improvement project, there are various parameters and components we bifurcated there. So the yield improvement has started with establishment of demo plots. That is, coffee demo plots were established both in Karnataka as well as in Kerala. So we established 2 demo plots in Karnataka and 8 in Kerala. So there are 10 demo plots which were established with the recommendation of CCRA scientists. From the beginning, from the land preparation up to harvesting, the entire operations are being trained. So how to develop the coffee nurseries. So from the starting planting to aftercare, pest and disease management, then other activities, and also more towards the yield. So they have identified best suitable variety for that particular region. So this is very, very important because the varietal selection is very important with respect to the particular location. So there are 2 Arabica plots were selected and 8 Robusta plants. That's called C/R in Robusta and Chandragiri in Arabica. So this is the variety that is suitable for that particular region. So like the selection happened, and then after selection, the land preparation from the day one. So the scientists gave a lot of advice, recommendations to establish this demo plot. So I should say that it is one of the flagship project for NAPP that we have established the demo plots. Through that, various training programs started, so conducted on agronomic practices, then clonal propagation. So clonal propagation is that with the help of single small buds, so we can regenerate or we can multiply the plant. So this is called clonal propagation. This is very important, and also you will get the uniformity of the crop. So this clonal propagation, actually many of our producers have already started doing their experiments on their own, and they have learned that and they have already started implementing there. And also I should say that the coffee nursery training was very, very useful to the producers, and one of our producer has already established a coffee nursery, and he is also selling different varieties of coffee, not only for himself, and also he is selling at a better price so that he is earning better income also. So I should say that this is one of the very good practices that we got through recommendations of CCRI. Apart from that, training on aftercare, pest and disease management, water conservations, etc. were taken on a regular basis. And also we had one more component in that, exposure visit. So exposure visit was very, very necessary for our cotton, coffee producers. We had an exposure visit to Chettalli Research Station, coffee research station in Chettalli in Karnataka. And also we have gone to the exposure visit for Tata Coffee. Tata Coffee is one of the premier company that everybody knows. They have got a very good model project, best package of practices we could able to see, and our producers can relate to that. There are no bore wells in almost 300 hectares of their coffee plantation in Tata Coffee. Not even a single bore well has been dug. So entire water conservation is based on the gravities, and there are various techniques that they have adopted, so that our producers could able to see. So this is very, very eye opener for our producers also, and also good exposure, because maintaining 300 hectares without a single bore well is very, very great achievement, we should say. So this is one of the important projects that the producers could able to relate that. And also we have gone to Chettalli Research Station, where we have visited laboratories where pest and disease management, how it is maintained, what are the important pests that attack the coffee plantation, especially the stem borer. Stem borer is a very, very dangerous pest for, especially for Arabica plantation. How we can avoid the stem borer infestation, how we can control. So there is a very good innovative techniques they have taught the producers, and also we have got a very good training by CCRI. So these are all very good trainings that we got from CCRI. And also we also got through the asset creation. So one of the asset creation was that biochar. So we have gone to the biochar units, exposure to biochar units, where how we can produce the biochar. So biochar is nothing but burning of crop residue under controlled conditions. So that if you burn it in the natural condition, then it will become charcoal. So but how we can produce under controlled condition in absence of oxygen. So that is called biochar. So once you apply to the plant, there will be an increase in the yield, and also it will give very good quality of the plants also will increase. So, and also it is addressing to the climate change. So it helps in conservation of moisture, conservation of water, and also adds carbon to the soil. So it adds to the carbon sequestration also. So these are all the innovative techniques that we got the producers to get exposed. And I should say that already 2 of our coffee producers have already installed this biochar units based on the recommendations of CCRI trainings and exposure visits. So 2 producers have already established. So this is one of the good initiatives that we have done through. And also a weather station has been established in our coffee producers, and also soil testing device. I should say here that maybe for the benefit of others. So soil testing device is a smart soil testing device. It is just 350 grams of the soil testing device. It is developed by IIT Kanpur. So you can test the soil with several parameters. Within 90 seconds, you will get the analysis like NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash, and also micronutrients they have added now, carbon, organic soil carbon content, and also clay content, and also cation exchange capacity. Within 90 seconds, you could able to get the result, and you can get the printout. So this is how the new technologies are. And I should say that our coffee producers have been distributed this soil testing device. They are already using it for their benefits, and also it will be like entrepreneurship. So they can also do the similar testings for other producers as well. Not only they can use for their own, and also for other producers, and also it can be an entrepreneurship model as such. So and also pest and disease to address that, we have established weather stations. Weather stations help in predicting the pest and disease occurrence. So and also they can take up sprays So based on the pest and disease occurrence, they can also take up this sprays. They can adjust their spray schedules so that they can avoid the cloudy weather and also rainy and this kind of thing. So it will get, the prediction will be there, forecasting will be there. So through these various interventions, we have done a lot of projects, and it is continuing. And in 2025, we are closing the project and also likely to extend for another 2 or 3 years.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Manoj, for sharing all the interventions in detail, which supported the farmers to increase the yields and maybe in turn strengthen the supply security for the Fairtrade business partners. So moving on to Akhil, one last question on the quality project. Businesses today are keen on consistent quality. So how does the quality enhancement project within Coffee Development Plan support the farmers in improving the green bean quality, and what advantages does this bring to the Fairtrade buyers?
So talking about Indian coffee, one of the biggest challenges which we face is the bad quality, or maybe a perception about the bad quality of Indian coffee. I think in the plenary session, Mr. Blaze had also talked about the French market. So he was telling the Indian coffee is used as a blend. It's not used as a single product. So the perception is quite lower side. And one of the reasons, or the major reasons, this low quality is not basically coming from the material or the seed of the coffee. The main issue why Indian coffee is having such low quality or low cupping scores is more on the post-harvesting practices which we do. So post-harvesting practices means once the harvesting is done, let it be picking of the right cherries, the pulping process, the hulling process, the drying process, or for that matter, even storage. These post-harvest practices has a lot of impact on the quality of the coffee. For that matter, I think you would have heard the story about monsoon Malabar. So basically, there was a long delay for shipping Indian Arabica in the Malabar coast earlier. So the coffee beans, while their shipping was getting delayed and due to the long voyage it had to make to the other countries, it was exposed to the Malabar monsoon winds, and the coffee beans started developing a unique flavor, which gave it more cupping score and better quality. So this is this was basically an accidental discovery, but after that we do it artificially. Not artificially, we monsoon the crops in the Malabar coast. One of our producers produced the specialty monsoon coffee. Yeah, so coming back to the interventions we are doing under CDP. So Manoj already explained about the interventions we are doing for productivity. That is the stage still harvesting. But when it comes to the quality, what matters is the post-harvest practices. So there's a lot of emphasis given on post-harvest practices. Here also, we are partnering with CCRI, the technical partner, and also the focus or the approach is very similar to what Manoj has explained. That is, we have a series of trainings. We have a lot of exposure visits for giving the hands-on training for the farmers. And finally, there is an asset creation component. Talking about the trainings, we started off with field trainings where we trained the farmers on picking the right cherries, separating the greens from the ripe ones. Also, there's a technique where the scientists demonstrated putting all the harvested beans on in a bucket of water, so that the floats, which are of lower quality, it gets floated and it can be removed out, so that the cupping score becomes better. The defective beans are basically removed. And so that was a first training where we started off with. And we also did a workshop on coffee cupping. So the farmers, they were basically not very much aware about the relationship between the post-harvest practices and the cupping scores. So this workshop helped them understand how the defects in their beans affects the cup score, and the concept of the specialty coffee, the opportunities of having a better market as well as better price when the quality is improved. So all this experience. All this was through an hands-on experience or through the workshop which we organized with the help of CCRI. And going further, again, as Manoj mentioned, the exposure visits. We did an exposure visit to Tata Coffee, where not just the agronomical practices, but the post-harvest practices were also focused. Their pulping system, their drying system. So all this gave hands-on experiences for the farmers to adapt to better post-harvest practices. Not just to Tata Coffee, the Chetali Research Station. We took them to some curing works also to understand what happens after the green bean stage, that is on grinding, roasting. And there was also a workshop by the name Kapi Shastra, where it is even taken further on the different brewing techniques. In South India, we have the South Indian filter coffee technique. In France, we have the French press technique. We have the pour-over technique. So how the brewing, it helps you in how the different taste and different brewing techniques is established. And also finally, the final part is the asset creation. So in asset creation, we focused on best practices related to harvesting as well as drying. So for harvesting, we distributed harvesting mats to the farmers so that contamination is least during the harvesting stage. Also similarly, we had supported them with drying mats, again to avoid contamination. And the major investment, this is in plan and this would be completed this year. We are planning to invest in solar dryers. So it's both renewable energy as well as it helps in even drying of the coffee beans so that the quality is enhanced. So this project is also envisioned and we would be completing it this year. And about the second part of the question, the advantages, I think, improving the quality is again a win-win for both businesses as well as producers, because businesses get a better quality and producers get a better price as well as the recognition of good quality coffee. But this is a long process. This cannot be done in a short time. We have just started off with it, adoption of the practices, Indian coffee getting a better recognition in the European markets or the global north. All this is a long process, but yeah, we have started the journey there.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Akhil. Thank you, Manoj and Akhil. Definitely, your words clearly shows how the investment how the investment of the businesses through right interventions in the supply chain makes the producer community more resilient. Thank you for that. Now we are going to conclude this session. Before that, I would like to open the floor for questions. I mean, there are tea producers, I know maybe cotton producers, and also from coffee. So if you have any questions for the panelists, you can, it is open now. Yeah. So we'll go with Mr. Shilajit first.
Vikram, thank you for the enlightenment on what are the things which Fairtrade is doing as far as Fairtrade is, as far as tea is concerned. Now we notice that there are a lot of compliances which are coming in, particularly for Europe and other destinations, specifically Europe and UK to an extent. And Fairtrade, of course, gives that the plus, which is where you are compliant with most of those requirements. So, I mean, of course, Fairtrade UK is running a program wherein they are trying to get all the teas in Fairtrade in UK to be Fairtrade labeled, which is a long way off, but they have started this and they are doing a lot of campaigns on that, which I'm aware of. So is something like this being planned in any other areas or any other destinations where this could be a movement? And also there are certain big buyers who are moving to Fairtrade from our existing clients itself. We see that they are taking more and more Fairtrade teas, or they are interested because of the compliance requirements and things like that, and their movement also to that extent. So will there be any further focus on this area for you?
I think, thank you for that. It's encouraging to hear you, Shilajit. I would say we are currently in UK, there is quite a bit of work that is going on, but at the same time, we are discussing it in France. The Germany is very strongly working with the team. So we have opened up some conversations in Germany also. So partly, I would say initially we will start off with a pilot with UK and Germany to say. Sweden Swedish market is also again very actively engaging. And the French market is also very actively. French, we are basically seeing a little bit of problem in terms of one, the market size as such, but at the same time, the complexity of the blend. It's not as simple. The blends are not as simple as what you will get in UK and the German market. So we are looking at those complexities also, but certainly it's not going to be restricted alone to UK. I'm in series of conversations with the Canadian market as well as the US. So there are some very interesting conversations happening at that end also. If you notice, like I was just having this conversation a couple of weeks back with the Canadian team, and I was just joking to them. I said, Canada and Mexico are the only ones under the trade tariffs where they have exemption. So possibly we may see shifting of. Mexico does not have a history of tea trade, but Canada does have. So basically we might see shift from UK now shifting it to Canada for people to ship into the US. So I think there are a lot of these trading relations and everything. We will see how it opens up in the coming months, but certainly not only to UK alone.
Thank you so much for that.
Due to
Mike.
time constraints, we will take one last question, Mr. Muniraju.
Thank you. Thank you to have like 2 global leaders and 3 regional leaders provided your insights. My question is very simple. Like now, like we are all aware, the global north imposing of, I think, quite 5 to 6 new regulations, including EUDR and all. So my question is to you, both the global leaders and our regional leader. Definitely, we are going to see some implications, direct implication in the producer perspective as well as in the supply chain itself. It requires time and it involves cost while implementing the new regulations. So what could be your the global perspective to these changes? Like definitely there could be a transition period like 1 year, 2 years to understand the implications out of these new regulations. What is your perspectives or strategies, and also as our NAPP leaders?
Who would like to answer this, Vikram?
I can quickly say, when I look at it from a tea perspective, let me say there are certain areas, as I said in my earlier questions, when Bindu asked a question, I said the regulatory environment is changing quite a bit. When I say materiality of the compliance risk has increased, it clearly says that it's no more a question of exactly whether I can do this or not. So if you do not have a license to run a factory and you're still running, you actually run a risk of complete closure of that factory. So businesses are coming under that. So they are rearranging themselves. I would say, for example, there are certain aspects related to tea. When it comes to climate change or the environment, tea is a very interesting commodity. I think we have a real winning situation there. When people are focusing on not only the scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions, we have a real winner there. When it comes to a more controversial aspect, like living wage being recognized as a human right now, and that needs to be embedded into the whole thing, into any discourse that we have in the supply chains, I guess there is a way of sorting that. I would say, how do people have alternative? So if I look at the alternatives, let me say, where there are wages are not the issue. Okay, go and buy tea in Turkey. People would not because it's too expensive, or possibly they will not get the price. So how do they sort it out? I guess the supply chains will look at it in a different way. If living wage is not part of the discourse here currently, it may become in future. But till that time, till that period, we have to bridge the gap. Rather than, I would say one solution could be that people may have very thin but spread out supply chains, make them thinner, but then more deeper supply chains, more long-term commitments with the buyers so that they can work on it. I was having this conversation with buyers as well as producers, and one interesting thing came up where one of the producers said that we are all bound by the CBA, collective bargaining agreement. And we actually cannot do anything about it because if I do this on one estate, we will have a problem in another estate, or other companies may not agree to that when we are sitting here as an industry association. So, okay, fine, there is a problem. So there is a solution. I would say, if the trading relationship exists out of, if you own 10 estates and it exists on one estate, CBA applies uniformly. But I would say move out of it. There is something called an enterprise level bargaining agreement, which you can enter into with your workers. As long as that trading relationship exists between the buyer with that volume, which you are looking for, a substantial volume, then there is no harm in satisfying those conditions. They do not become part of the whole thing, but they improve the earning capability and impact the living wage also. So there are ways and means of addressing them, but it can only be done by coming together on the table and addressing those challenges.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks. Tobias, you would like to add?
Very short answer also. I see more or less, mostly it can be a chance for us. It can be a possibility because, as I mentioned it in my speech, we are close to the producers and we can adapt. And mostly those regulations are fought at least in favor of environment and in favor of human beings. So let's see it as an advantage. But then also there are rules that are done in Europe and have indirect influence on the ground in the south, global south. And then we have to lobby. And we can lobby on two sides. One is on the political side. We can lobby, as I mentioned also with Fairtrade Advocacy Office. I'm now an advisor of the Fairtrade Advocacy Office. So all legislations I can react. And if you know something that is a problem for you, then go to Fairtrade International, and there are people, or also to me if it related to cotton textiles. And then we have the partnership with the brands also. And then they can also help. There are so many committed actors, and they will also help lobby for us. Let's build up the community, and let's build a bright future together.
Yeah, thank you so much. Maybe regional perspective, we have to talk outside because of the time constraint. We will definitely have a conversation on that. So with that, I would like to conclude this session. Thank you to all our speakers for such insightful perspectives on the offer to business. If I have to distill today's discussion into 3 clear messages for the businesses, they would be: Fairtrade helps businesses navigate the growing regulatory and consumer expectations in the global north. We are going beyond certification with offers like traceability solutions, climate resilience programs, and HREDD. And most importantly, every Fairtrade partnership ensures impact at origin, strengthening the producers in the global south, which in turn creates the stories and authenticity businesses need to connect with their consumers. So to all our business partners and prospective partners here today, Fairtrade is not just certification, it is partnership and a model for the future. We invite you to work with us, to innovate with us, and to build stronger, more sustainable value chains together. With that, I want to thank all our panelists once again, and thank you all for joining us. Thank you so much.
With all the partnerships, the collaborations, and the fantastic stories. Thank you so much, Bindu, for anchoring this session so successfully. And as per the routine, we would go ahead with the presentation of the mementos. Blaise, thank you so much. Please make your way to the dais. I will start calling the names one by one. Can we please start with Mr. Tobias? Tobias Meier, if you could kindly come forward. Blaise, the center stage, please. Yeah, from the photograph standpoint. Mr. Tobias, he's a global product manager, cotton and textiles, all the way from Switzerland. Up next, Mr. Vikram. Mr. Vikram being the head of Global Tea Fair Trade. Mr. Akhil Nassim, who anchored our previous session and was one of our speakers during this one, the Deputy Manager, South India, Fairtrade NAPP. And Mr. Manoj Kumar, the Senior Program Manager, West and Southern India for the Coffee Development Program. Finally, calling upon the lady who was anchoring the entire session. Let's hear it for Miss Bindu. Gentlemen, may I please request you to come forward for a group, for the group photograph, please. Lace, the group photograph.